Welcome to the Blend Podcast.
Grab yourself a coffee, are you ready? Enjoy and make it last. If you're out on the town or just hanging around, it's the Blend Campfire Podcast. We'll sit around the fire telling stories with a marker in our hands. Sipping it slow, hope you're ready to go. It's the Blend Campfire Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Blend Podcast, Graham.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Yes,
Nice to have you here, and I've been really enjoying these podcasts, getting to know sort of our Dundee customers. You know, I don't really know you but you've been recommended by our staff. I think you're a favourite of theirs, and you know a regular as part of this.
I had to pay them a £5 each.
Well, it's worked. It's worked. But it's lovely to have you here. How do you like your coffee?
Oh, I usually have an Americano. These days I have the large one because the small one goes so quickly. And they all know me now, so I have Americano with hot almond milk.
Almond milk as well.
That's very good.
Yeah. What did we do before all these
alternative
milks?
Yeah.
All these little, I laugh with my kids because I say it's like little Afghanis, and they're milking little almonds to produce almond milk.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Oh, God.
But anyway, that's dad jokes. And how did you discover us?
I'd seen the shop before, which was, I think, some sort of haberdashery fashion thing.
Right,
and then it was empty for a while, and then all the papers went up. I thought, I wonder what was in there. And I saw a couple of the staff sitting outside. I thought, just sitting there, waiting for something. And then I saw it was going to open on a certain day, and I thought, oh, God, have a look. The coffee place. I couldn't get in.
Oh, really?
So on day one, I couldn't get in. But day two, I got here, and as I got in, I must have had a coach behind me. Got very quickly. Yeah. And I used to come in every day then, even the weekends, and have what do I have? The same as I had now. This the soup, the cheddar melt, and the big coffee, which is wonderful.
No, that's great. And listening to your accent, you're obviously not a Dundonian by birth, or you could be.
Show? Oh, dear me.
The game's up. I'm sorry.
Oh, dear. 33 years I've been in. I haven't got the Dundonian accent yet. Oh, well.
So, where are you from originally?
I was born in Eastbourne, right down on the English south coast, by a huge cliff called Beachy Head, which was the highest place in the whole of the south coast. But because of landslip and everything, it's about half the size that it was. Apparently I moved with everybody when I was 3, moved up to probably Greater London now, a place called South Harrow, which is about 2 or 3 miles away from the famous school Harrow. I think Winston Churchill went there, but I never went.
You didn't go to Horace?
No, I didn't get to there, no. Just got as far as the secondary. And at 13 we moved again to next door to Gatwick Airport, a place called Hawley, which was supposed to be one of the biggest villages there was. It was big, but I don't know if it was a village. And then later on I took work at Gatwick, working for a now defunct airline called Den Air.
Oh yeah, gosh.
And a lot of aircraft they had in those days, and British Caledonian and BEA were around still then.
So what did you do with them?
I used to run the crew from their headquarters to whichever aircraft all over the airport.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a dead of night, and a bit of excitement one night. One of the caretakers or whatever it was came and said, "Can you come with me? Follow me quick, we're going to the other end of the runway." I thought, why are we going to the other end of the runway? One plane had landed and its nose wheel had crashed, and it had just made the end into the mud with the nose wheel. Wow. And I had to go up there, and everybody was sort of sliding off. And,
wow.
And it was about half an hour to an hour later, I took off the crew, and they were absolutely in bits because
I can imagine,
they got that far and they thought they were going to turn over.
Wow. Oh.
That was an exciting day, but there you are.
I mean, let's put some context here. I mean, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Graham?
Oh, according to my birth certificate, I'm 76.
Wow.
And I should be 77 in July 25th, so I expect, as it's double figures, I should expect a lot of postcards from everybody. I didn't get anything when I was 75 because it's in the middle of everything. Nobody came.
No. Oh, that's and COVID times was
yes,
I suppose?
yes.
So that's
in fact, I had quite a couple of years of it. I'd had about a year and a half before the COVID, before everything shut down. I was getting small headaches, and I'd known people for 20 years in the groups, in the gardening groups, I'll tell you about later.
Yeah,
and I didn't know their names. And then all of a sudden I remember all their names. I thought, oh, right, okay. And then one day I had a huge headache and went to the doctor's. And as I'm telling her, I thought she was catching up on the patient before. She's typing away at the computer. She said, you're booked into 9 Wells. I said, why am I going to 9 Wells? She said, go. I said, well, a bit busy this afternoon, I might go tomorrow. And we came up nose to nose, and you'll go now, she said. All right, okay, so I got there that night. They scanned my brain, and then a couple of hours later they said, you're going to have to go to Edinburgh. I thought, this is 10 to 12 at night. How am I going to get... Oh, we're going to get a blue light ambulance off the road and run you to Edinburgh. I thought, blue light? What's going on here? They didn't tell me what headache it was. I just had this headache. Yeah. I got there. They did another scan the next day. The day after that, I was in the theatre.
Wow. Oh.
And as I came round, apparently they had a huge difficulty because everything was all messed up inside. They had huge difficulty getting this stent into my brain. So as they were finishing, so they all tell me my body was starting to close down, and they reckoned I was coming up to my last hour. Wow. And they tried to push everything back, and they got everything back. Wow. So they were quite amazed when I came round, and the anaesthetists and the consultants, and they said, how are you? I said, I'm fine. They sort of looked at each other. And I said, do you remember who I am? I said, yes, you're the anaesthetist and you're the consultant. Oh, we'll have to rewrite the medical book, they said. You're not supposed to remember that or talk.
Wow. So did you have a brain...
Yes, I had one of the main... whatever they call it, goes up from the sort of groin area, up by the side of the neck, the big vein that goes up the side of the neck into the middle of the brain, and that had broken in two. They showed me the X-ray, and I've got pictures of the X-ray and everything. And it was just like 2 fingers together, and then you put the knuckles back, and there was this big gap in the middle.
Wow. Well, I'm certainly glad you're here, and you know
I'm still here,
we're
and
better
I'm still
for
ticking.
it. You know?
Yes.
and so let's backtrack. We're still in Gatwick.
Okay.
You know, what brings you? You know, what brings you to Dundee then? How do you jump?
I knew some people down in the Hawley area, and then I moved to Bristol to find a bigger job, sort of thing, because the Gatwick was starting to pack up, because Danair packed up. And then I got in with some people at one of these centres which tries to find you a job and puts you in somewhere and see if you like it. And mine was in, some people will know it, Slimbridge, which was Peter Scott, the grandson of the man from down the road that ran the Discovery. Okay. He bought Slimbridge back in the mid-40s, about when I was born, 44,
like the
45.
Explorer Scott?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it was his grandson.
Ah, okay.
And he did the same sort of thing, but he was doing more wildlife. And he did a lot of perfect paintings and sold them. Yeah. Eventually, he went from a couple of acres to hundreds of acres. And I did his black and white developing in the visitor centre, and take pictures of him and the birds that are arriving. One day I was asked, I had a great flock of several hundred geese, and they said, there's one goose in there we want a photograph of. It's a different one from the others. So I looked at, yes, they're all brown, and they've all got the same colour legs. Oh, yeah, it's smaller. Wow. Yes, okay. I eventually found it because it wandered off. Oh.
And you were doing photography? Or?
Yeah, I was doing photography. I was doing the black and white photography and everything.
Okay, how did you get into that then?
Well, that goes back even further. My mum and dad gave me your older listeners might know, Brownie 127, a little plastic thing, which if you slightly knocked it, that was it. It smashed to pieces. And of course, in those days, it was film only, and there was only 8 pictures to a film. And I was taking pictures of the budgie and pictures of aircraft in the sky, which was a tiny pinprick. And of course, the picture was coming out about, what are they in centimetres? About 4 centimetres square.
A couple of inches, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of inches. And you see this aircraft, that's the aircraft I was talking about. Oh, it's not even a pinhead. Well, then eventually I got bigger cameras, and everybody was trying to give me cameras, and I was getting better and better. Eventually I was doing my own DMP at developing and printing at home, and I kept on doing that. I did a couple of weddings, I was doing family portraits, babies, animals, groups in the local hall. I was photographing all those.
And I mean, you didn't go to higher education. You're sort of self-learned, self-taught sort of person, and that's sort of been your journey through life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you find this goose, you photograph it. So how do you then? I'm trying to get you to Dundee. So how do you end up? I'm trying to figure out why you're here. We're all.
What volume do you want me to go to? Right.
Yeah. What brought you here?
We're in Bristol, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then some people I knew in Bristol. I thought I knew them quite well, the family. And he said he'd run a painting and decorating up here between Johnshaven and Lawrence Kirk. I thought, okay. Moved all up, and it wasn't anything to do with anything like that at all. So we'll gloss over that bit. But the chap over the road, like the width of the road outside the Blend in Dundee here, he was sort of a semi-farmer type thing, small holding he was running.
Okay.
And it was getting bigger, and it was getting more and more popular, and it was only him running it. And he said, well, can you give me a hand? I thought, okay, don't know. I know 4 legs and chickens of feathers. That's as far as I got. They probably lay eggs sometimes. Okay, so in the end, I was there for about 2 years. So as I was going through everything, I was helping chop down trees, dead trees, and cutting them up and doing for the fire and everything. I was getting up about 4 o'clock in the morning, going to, never mind the weather, snow, rain, hot, going milking, I think it was 2, maybe 3 white goats, sort all them out, take the milk indoors to get it away from the dust and everything. Then I'd go and feed all the chickens and pick all the eggs up, sort some of the eggs out and come back, clean up all the milk stuff, have breakfast, and then go down into the main drag road, which is about a mile away, catch a bus into Aberdeen and work for Lizars, selling cameras and films and binoculars and everything there. Yeah. Then I used to come back again and almost start all over again.
Wow,
do all the chickens.
That's a long day.
Yeah.
And it's probably why you don't drink dairy anymore, like you're sick of milky anything.
Well, yes, you know where it comes from. Well, I had goat's milk for quite some time. Of course, with these people as well, I had goat's milk. It was quite nice, because it was fresh. It hadn't been sitting around for weeks, like you do sometimes. Yeah. But then we got so big there, we got so popular that we wanted to extend our little tiny patch, almost about as big as the city square here in Dundee, and asked the next door farmer, could we had half a field, which was only about half of that down there, and he wanted telephone numbers for it, oh dear, thousands and thousands. Okay, we won't go there. So we packed up, and I moved eventually down to the nearest city, which was Dundee here, and started all over again.
And did you have family at this time? Were you on
yes,
your own?
I have did I have? I'm wondering when Mum died. Yeah, Mum died 13 years ago. She was in Bath, so was the whole family, but they're all split up. Dad was on the other side of Bath, and brother and sister were there, all over Bath. So I used to go down to Bath, I know that quite well, and the Roman baths and everything. And when I came up here, my brother ran me up. So I've lost track of where I am.
Just family,
family. That's all I had. Was Mum and Dad then. So my mum died, and then my dad died 5-6 years ago now. But he was 93, Mum was a couple of days off 80. And they both had sort of cancers and that sort of thing, but that was not too.
And you've
too
just
good
never
yes.
found a partner in your journey? And
Oh
you've just
yeah,
been
well that's right. Yes, I reckoned then how much they were teaching me, even at the age of 40 and 50. You know, I thought I knew everything. Of course, you don't.
No.
So then I got into here.
Yeah. Were you in your 40s then by the time you got to...
1988 or whatever that was.
Okay.
42, 43, something like that.
Yeah.
And after a couple of days, sort of sorting my flat out in Arkley Street, I came down and thought I'd look around. I got as far as the city square down here, and this large American lady in a 10-gallon hat, probably, I didn't measure it, came up to me and said, was I interested in local history? I can't do the Yankee accent, so I won't. And I said, well, yes, I suppose I could be. She said, well, would you like to come to a meeting about history? I thought, oh, okay, I've fallen in here, that's good. She said, it's in the dining room. So I said, right. I said, I've only been here a couple of weeks. I said, whereabouts is this dining room? Is it a cafe or a restaurant? No, she says, you know the ship down on the river? So I said, yes, it's Captain Scott's. Is this Discovery? Is this the one? She said, yes. She said, if you go there and say you're meeting me, Hetty King, and Hetty King was the ex-wife of Solomon King, which back in the early middle 60s had a hit record with She Wears My Ring, which was because of her. And she
Written about her then?
Yeah, it was about her.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go there. So it turned out to be the first committee meeting of what was called then the Dundee 800.
Okay.
And the Dundee 800 was named because Dundee was 800 years old. And I sat with all these people I didn't know, and I gave my little bit here and there because I didn't know anything, and I asked questions and they all get answered. I thought, okay, I'm in here, that's fine. It wasn't too long afterwards that I got asked again. Somebody talked to somebody, I expect, and said, would you like to come to a meeting about environment and gardening? I thought, okay, not on this Discovery again? No, this was in one of the council offices, so okay. Right. And there was 20 or 30 people there. The provost was there, and apparently half the people there were the MPs and everything of the time. And they said they wanted to start this sort of Dundee in bloom. There was Aberdeen in bloom, Glasgow in bloom, and all this. So they wanted to do a Dundee one. So okay, well we can do this one. And they said, worked out who was going to do what and everything. They said, well, we need a chairman. Oh, sat there, I don't know what I can do with this. I'd already been chairman of the Ardler one, which we'll go into later. And they said, well, I said, I don't know, I've got too much for this other one. Well, no. We'll all help you. You don't have to do much. You know, you just ask and we'll feed out.
Suckered into this.
Well, yeah, I said, oh, all right, I'll try it for a year. Try it for a year. Okay, up until my brain hemorrhage 5 years ago, I was still chairman.
So 25 years later, wasn't
about 20 years. You're about right. Yeah, it's not quite 25, but 19 perhaps.
That's a long year.
Yeah, so that was that, and we got going, and we were followed by a group of people in Stirling that Keep Scotland Beautiful, known as the KSB, and it was a huge concern which took in all the volunteers from all the villages and towns and seaside cities and things right out in the middle of nowhere that just did container boxes and window boxes and things, and they were all judged in their own right. So we took on a big container which was doing the things out here in Union Street, and we also started doing other things. In the end, we were the council gave us 8 tubs in Union Street. And we got on with those. That's fine. Oh, you're doing well, doing well. Would you like to do this? Okay, we could try that bit. You know, it's one of these sucker in again. I thought, hello, what's going on here? After a few years, we were the very first planted garden on the Slessor Gardens, and we're the only one there when the Queen came to open it. We're all dressed in our finery, the dresses and suits. I didn't wear my dress that day.
Didn't fit in at the time.
No, it didn't fit in with what the Queen was wearing. So we'll all wait for her to come and say hello, but she walked past us one way, opened the gardens and walked past. So we all picked up our hose and started hoeing in our suits and everything. Oh, okay, fine. But then also we did the gardens in the huge tubs at the Science Centre, and we were one of the first, if not the first, to have these huge tubs which are about chest height sort of thing.
What do you like about that? Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'm thinking about our listeners. You know, in a world where we sort of look after our own spaces.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting where you're in this public space. You're looking after public spaces. So looking after what everyone else gets to see. What drives you to do that, or what is the group?
To improve the space. I mean, the Science Centre one, I think, was an overflow car park type thing. And eventually we put a couple of tubs in the way so they couldn't get in. So I think we got about 15, 16 tubs down in the Science Centre. Right. And each one has got, every other one's got an apple tree in it.
And who's involved then? Who's involved in...
well,
who are your volunteers?
Yes, they're all volunteers. Everyone's a volunteer. Nobody's paid any money or anything. I think... so I don't do much down there at the moment, so they made me vice chair just to keep me in. I think there's about 4 or 5 people down there, and sometimes one finds it a bit too much because they're doing other things in other volunteers. So I think at the moment there's about 4 or 5 people doing everything, doing the treasury, the proper chairman, somebody else has taken over the chair and everything.
How do people get involved with this if they wanted to?
Well, there are phone numbers if you look up on the on net under the Bonnie Dundee volunteer service. You'll find the telephone number of the new chair, or you might get the treasurer. She does a hell of a lot. She doesn't just do the money. She runs around picking up the flowers and everything.
I mean, I know in my own life, like I worked in a garden. Well, 2 gardens, one in Perth and one in Inverness, and it was one of the most cathartic sort of spaces that I found in a busy world and a busy sort of, you know, the pace we're at, you know, there was something beautiful about planting something, you know, in late winter, nurturing it with no guarantee it was going to do
None at
anything
all,
by spring, but that very process, you know, sort of slowed the brain down.
Yes.
It was a different rhythm and seasonal way of being that I think you know, one, I mean, I still find that really it was still one of my most memorable sort of periods of my life, to be able to slow it down, to
that's right,
to almost exercise a part of our brain which isn't being asked to be exercised nowadays, where everything's instant. It's, you know, I use this phrase about, you know, we all want jam and no one wants to plant the orchard, you know.
That's right, yes.
You know, we want the result, we want the thing now, and yet nobody's willing to take the effort. And yet it's in the effort that that so much of our growth and health happens. Is that how you use gardening? Or how do you...
People we ask, when they stop and watch us go and they talk to us about it, and say, well, you can join. I don't know anything about gardening. Well, I said, well, nor did we. When we started, it was green side up and brown side down. You know, okay, well, we'd probably do that. And they'll come for a couple of things. Oh, we enjoy this, and they stay. You know. But as you say, in the winter, all the summer and spring stuff is cleared out, and so you've just got a blank space, either in a tub or in a garden somewhere, and you start planting bulbs for the spring. And then you start planting seeds, and as you say, we don't know if they're going to come up or not. You plant 200 seeds, and you might get 10 come up, and you might get half of those germinate into proper things, pansies and everything else. But sometimes in the city, we can order up to 3,000 plants, and we nurture those on. We've got the knack of doing it now. After 20 years. We should know what we're doing by now.
I mean, but it is
do
Dundee.
we have to water
you know.
them still?
It is the most sunniest city in Britain, but probably the windiest as well.
Yes, yes.
Must be in the top 10 windy, you know. So
yeah, it comes over the hill, especially if it comes in from the north. It really comes in. Yeah. But into the spring, of course, the spring stuff starts coming up. All your daffodils and tulips and everything else. We planted just about before now, about October, November. We planted some of the things, and we also plant some of the seeds which we know are going to grow. Yeah. Whatever we do with them. And they start coming up like nasturtiums, big trailing things with trumpet, orange and yellow things on, marvellous things. And we keep on like that, and we keep winning prizes, but in both groups, in the Ardler group and in this group.
You mentioned fruit trees as well.
Yes.
Are they? Where are? I mean, I don't see fruit trees in cities. Where are? they?
No, we don't.
Why not?
There was a group started called DUO, which is D for Donald, U-O, which is Dundee Urban Orchard. And I think last time that we counted, there were something like 27 urban orchards around Dundee, in communities, in people had taken over churches and things and used as other things and done there. Most of the schools have got these apple trees in, but they're not the huge apple trees. No. They're the small ones, 4 or 5 foot, maybe 6 foot at the moment. So the kids can.
What else can? I mean, is there other? I mean, I'm trying to think about how we can get even like our customers. You know, we're here. What is it they could do in their streets? Like, is there a place we can? Is it something they can get a tree and put it up, or is there ways of beautifying our own streets? You know.
Well, yes, I've noticed it a bit around Dundee. It's just been happening, but probably during lockdown. People are trying things to do. And I noticed in some of the roads around the bottom of the trees where it's bare earth before it gets to the tarred effect and the curb, people have been digging that up and planting flowers in there, pansies and other stuff.
Brilliant.
And it's not only just one flower, it's blue ones, white ones, red ones, just not because of those colours, but they're all over the place. And you think, oh, that's nice. Or people have started growing flowers in the garden and cutting their hedges down so people can see them. So
little sort of altruistic sort of ways of approaching, rather than here's my little patch and
that's
it's
right.
mine.
You're not looking at my garden. It's not very good. But people have all of a sudden, I think, probably in the lockdown, have tried to find things to do.
And do you find it a social space? Is that part? Is that is that your family? Is that your tribe then, or do you just hate them all?
The family are 400 miles away, so it's a little difficult to pop round for tea there. But here, you've got lots of people come and sit and watch and say, what's that plant you're planting? Or can I plant that in my garden? How does it grow? Where does it? And all these questions start coming up. Most of them we know the answers to. So I'm hoping that everything's all right. Nobody's come back and said, I didn't plant.
But what's kept you in Dundee? Like,
what's kept me in Dundee?
Yeah, why this city?
Well, when I first started, I didn't say I didn't know anybody, but this is probably the most friendliest city, and you can talk to people. Down south around London, you say hello to somebody, and they say, "Why are you saying hello to me?" So you can say people and join in sort of conversation, and they'll say, "Oh, that's nice," and then they go off or go and try and do what you've been telling them. So, it's a very friendly city, and it's a society. It's not bits here, and we don't talk to that lot. We don't talk to that lot. Everybody talks to everybody, especially here in Blend. I can sit down and people will say, aren't you the chap who does the gardening? And I'm like, okay, yes. Or weren't you in here yesterday? Or how are you getting on with this? People saying, have you finished the volumes yet?
And I mean, you do our Santa at Christmas. I mean,
Oh yes, I do a Santa at Christmas. I have to change the voice somewhat, you see. So I have the full gear, and all these little kiddies come in. Oh, I'm from the North Pole, you see.
I hope none of them are listening, but they are.
Well, their grandparents are saying,
Yes.
And again, it's it seems to be this sort of altruistic space that you've built into your life. Your life is about others and other things. It's not just a insular space and you're just a healthy 77-year-old.
That's right. Yeah, well, on the outside, I keep telling people it's the makeup, which I don't use anyway.
It's the beard. It protects us.
I start growing the beard about June, July, until it's sort of twice the size as yours out here somewhere, touching the shoulders.
And again, that just reveals, that's, it's so beautiful in the same way the gardening, you're growing your beard intentionally in July.
Yeah.
To be in its prime for Christmas.
For Christmas,
I mean, I just love.
Then Christmas Eve, I get home and it comes off.
Does it come off?
Back to it takes me longer to clear it up than it does to cut it off.
That's just such a beautiful. I mean, I find that really inspiring because it's such a conscious altruistic. I keep using this word, but it's this other space, to say, look, hey, I'm preparing now to. I mean, where were you Santa before we did it?
Well. When I lived on the Isle of Wight in Cowes, I wasn't there for long because I was tall and nobody else wanted to do it. They gave me the Cottonmall beard. And I walked up and down the high street, which was not too many people, so that was fine. And then I came up here, at home here in Ardler, up by Turnberry Avenue, by the Ardler complex. They were looking for somebody to do Santa, and I had half a beard then. I hadn't grown it probably. I said, well, you've got the beard. Okay, well, I'll try it out. They bought the wig and everything. I thought, it was terrible. Yeah. And then I did it again the next year, and I've just done it last year. I was going to say this year. Yeah. Last year, that was good. We opened at 5 o'clock. The queue started at 5 o'clock. The queue stopped at 6:20. Yeah. And we were giving out these confectionery sheets.
It's just beautiful, and we're just glad that you're part of our family. You're part of this.
And then I did here, and then there was another one I did. Some people saw me up at the Ardler one and asked me to do one for the old people's home, just over the river here, just underneath the river, to an old people's home there. And everybody's calling me Santa and everything.
What drives you? What's your life view then? What?
Probably to, I say entertain, but make people joyful, make people happy. Because I've also done stints on the rep. We haven't covered that yet.
And where does that come from? Why?
I don't know. Show off, maybe. I was always a show off. What are you doing? Showing off again? Yes, well, I might get an Oscar for it this time. I don't know who Oscar is, but he's never been to me. Right. I've done 2 or 3 stints on stage at the rep, and there was a group up there. I think we were called the Beautiful People. Okay. It was starting. It was before the lockdown and everything else started. Back in the normal days, there was about 20 of us, 50 plus. So me at sort of mid-60s. Then I thought, okay, we'll go along. And after a couple of years, we did sort of stage acts for the rest of the people on the rep and in the hall next door. Was it the Bonner Hall? Yes, I think that is. And then we decided to take it away to see what other people did. And we went to a place called Tongue, which is about as far as you can go up north. And we got there to this hall there, which is almost the size of this place in Dundee, and about half a dozen people were there. I thought, that's not going to be much of an audience. They said, you went till 7 o'clock until you start. So, well, people come, or people drive here, cross country, and in the end, the whole place was absolutely packed. We had to squash people aside to get in and do our sort of act and everything. Brilliant. And they found out I played fiddle in those days, just before all the falls and everything I had on COVID. So I played the only Scottish jig I knew, and everybody was all up and dancing and cheering and everything.
You play violin as well?
I was brought up on classical music. Okay. Didn't like this pop music, Dad. Yeah. So,
what did your dad do, by the way? What did he?
He was a building surveyor at the London County Council.
Okay. Yeah.
If Thatcher hadn't come in and sort of booted him out and dropped him a few floors, he would have been looking. Well, he wouldn't have been now because he'd been 104 or something. his office would have been looking on top of the big wheel.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where he was. So he was on the top
Okay.
floor, so you could
Okay.
see everything going on.
Yeah.
And he did that, but he retired early. So.
So I mean, so that's where I mean your music and
Yes.
your theatre and
Yeah.
and,
I think every record I had to play had to be sort of classical. I was playing these 78s over and over again. In the end, I knew most of them because of the violin concertos, piano concertos.
and then you had a band yourself, or you were part
Yeah,
of a
well,
band?
further on, back into the 60s, I was taking part in bands, doing probably lead singer because nobody else could do it again. I could just about play the bass guitar, which I was doing then. I was made to play bass because I had 4 strings on my violin, so you must be able to play 4 strings on your bass. No. But
Do you read music? I mean,
well, yes, in those days I did, but I find it difficult to sight read now. I'm still sort of rewriting songs that I wrote 20 years ago, and I thought, well, of course, they're 20 years old, they won't fit in today.
no.
But ballads are starting to come back, so I'm hoping somewhere along the line, before I'm 92, I might be able to get some sort of thing
Maybe our
off the
next
ground.
open mic or something will get you in and
Yes,
get
yes. I should be very ill that day. I won't be here.
Come on, you're a show off. You
Oh,
want to be
yeah.
out there. Don't
Well,
forget
yes.
that part of you.
Well, I should show off in my teens. When I'm 77, I might not be able to, but I'm trying to do that.
Yeah,
I've done a lot of karaoke things, karaoke things.
yeah.
People used to ask me to go to pubs to sing certain songs. Oh, okay,
You just seem to have a sort of give it a go sort of
that's right.
attitude to life.
Well, if you don't know, you don't try. You don't know.
I mean,
Give
if
it a
I
go.
said to you tomorrow, let's go to Morocco, you probably would. You'd say, yeah, I'll try.
A bit warm.
You don't like the warm, you like
Well, no, not that warm.
Okay, we'll go to Iceland then,
Right. Iceland, Reykjavik, Northern Lights, Greenland. Yes, I'd love to go.
No.
That's another stent of my thing. Is my dad taught me astronomy
Yeah.
because he was a navigator in the war,
Okay.
which we won't talk about. And when I was 3 or 4 years old, when we were where were we then? In South Harrow, or South Harrow, whichever you like. He used to take me out on clear nights and point out the Plough and the Pole Star and Cassiopeia, and in the winter, so this big thing here is Orion. And I didn't know anything, of course. None of these names did anything to me. I used to pick out spots in the sky. Oh, I remember those 3 stars. Oh, those 2 together, I remember. And of course, I got a bit more interested, and they bought me a telescope. I suppose they wanted me to do this. And then I started looking at the moon, the planets I was finding, seeing Jupiter with the little lines on it, Saturn, because it was only the size of a pea. Sort of
Yeah,
thing.
I did hear.
And just about see the rings and the tiny dots around it, which were the moons. And I just got hooked on that as well.
You still do that? Or you
Yes, I
go to
still do that when
Balgate
I can. Yeah.
Okay.
It says cloudy weather at the moment. You can't get it.
Oh, that's right. And
Yes.
though, I mean, at least there are parts of Scotland without the light pollution.
Yes.
Like I was out a few weeks ago. It was just stunning. I mean, it was just these clear winter nights and
Apparently, one of the first, what they call, was it dark sky? They call it dark sky areas. One of the first ones, if not the first one, was Dumfries and Galloway. I think it was the Dumfries Forest.
Yeah.
And apparently they've got paths and everything through the forest where you can go and look up. Of course, you won't see anything first off because your eyes aren't used to it.
No.
But after 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, you start to see the Milky Way.
yeah.
And then you see shooting stars going through.
That's-
And then sometimes, if you're lucky, you might see the International Space Station go
yeah,
across.
that's right. It was very clear even just a couple of nights ago actually.
Yeah.
Just because the weather's just so good right
Yeah.
now, high pressure cloud, and even sort of night clouds are quite interesting. We forget.
Yeah, when
with the
especially
moon,
during the summer when the sun has gone down and you think it's gone down, and there are clouds still there.
Yeah, it's refracting off the
It's
sea.
just picking up the sun,
Yeah.
and even over the top of you, back over in the east, you're still glowing red, and it's about
it's very
midnight,
Scottish
1 o'clock in the
phenomenon.
morning.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful sight.
Well, I mean, you've the thing about you've seen this 70, nearly 80 years of life and world.
Not quite,
change.
no.
Not yet there. Not that. What have been some of the big changes, good or bad, that you've seen in that time?
Well, one of the first things I came up here, I tried to keep up with computers. In those days, it was the floppy disk, a great thing, about 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah.
If you made a mistake, you had
And
to
they were
bring
floppy.
it out.
I mean, they were
they were
the old
floppy,
floppy before they
little
became
thin
the
bits of plastic. What's on here? And you put it in. If you made a mistake, you have to take it out and start all over again. And then that was before Apple, and then Apple started coming in, and they started doing architectural things, which you could put roofs and trees and everything in. I couldn't keep up with that, so I did that. And then I went to a training place not too far away from here, just by the gasometer actually, which they're going to use for the Eden project here. And they were teaching journalism, video and photography. So I thought, I don't want photography, I know all about that. Apparently I didn't. And the video as well, I got taught do it properly and everything. But I was doing sort of journalism. We were writing a sheet. It's not quite a sheet. I think it was 4 pages long, 6 pages long sometimes. Called the Green Diary, and everything environment came to us, and we put it in this diary. And we used to do, there was about 20 of us, used to do write-ups of whatever was happening. Okay. And I did one on the water vole. And
was this published or just for yourselves?
It was all published.
Yeah,
it went about 2,000 or 3,000 copies were put around to the libraries and the schools and everything. And of course that got a bit too much, and they packed up. So I came out of that as well. I'm hoping the blend won't pack. Everywhere I go, it packs up. I won't be able to get my coffee
You're
anywhere.
not Jonah, are you?
No. I think a whale of a time, but that's as far as we go. Yeah.
But again, I love that. You know, you're in your 60s and you're saying, no, I'll learn about computers, or I'll learn about journalism or Photoshop or whatever the next thing. So what's been a detriment, and what do you think we've lost in that time as well?
Lost. Well, the kids of today, I think they've lost almost society and talking to each other and getting to know each other. I mean, wherever you see them, they're on their phones. Okay, they're not talking to each other and watching their expressions or sort of getting wild about something. You can't get wild on a text. I suppose you can, but kids don't know those words yet. So I think that they've lost...
What's your technique of getting to know people? Like, how do you do it? Why are you not intimidated by strangers?
Well, I'm really not. If they're showing interest in the gardens, fine. Or if I'm listening to the music, to the one-man band or something down at the city square here, and people standing next to me, and I'll start talking to them, and they'll start recurring anything that they've done in the last few years or something. That comes, well, they're not going to bite. You know, nobody's going to ask, why the hell are you talking to me? I don't know you from Adam. I mean,
it's interesting. I think just a conversation in one of my early podcasts. I think the stranger danger has probably been a detriment to. I mean, as much as we understand why we have that, and we understand, but I think it's also generated probably a subliminal anxiety. And fear of the stranger. And that has. I think we're still culturally responding to that, and and we've got to be conscious of that, because somewhere we've got to break that cycle as well.
Right.
Because actually, I mean, most people we meet we like. I mean,
well, that's right.
There
are
some people that are going to be numpties.
They look all right.
But
I think that, as you mentioned there, the stranger danger one. I think when that first started, the people are in their 25s and 30s probably now.
Yeah.
But I think the parents, that they are now, have been telling their kids about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I talk to kids on their own, which aren't from the 2 primary schools, which are either side of our gardens, and most of them know me. Don't come away from here.
Yeah. I mean, even to be a Santa, it's. I think it's just interesting how many little rules and things, nuances you have to sort of put together. Quite rightly. I mean, I'm not.
I can't have them on my knee anymore. Or hold them for a photograph.
And but I think it's where there's like legacy now left in our psychology, and where we don't want those unsafe. Well, we deem it unsafe, to meet a stranger. I mean, this cafe, we've been consciously trying to create a safe space for a community to say, look, come and sit with a stranger at a table, or be willing to sit next to someone at an empty chair, and
that's right.
They're not going to bite.
I always ask too, like here, for the table in between us, is anybody sitting here? Is this all right? Have they gone?
Yeah. And actually, we find that it's almost like re-educating or creating a new muscle memory.
Yes.
Of saying that's where a community comes from.
That's it. Yeah.
Because otherwise, we're always going to be scared of it, of the unknown.
Yes.
And we're going to try to control it electronically or wherever in our rooms and say, oh no, I'm not going to go out because the big bad wolf is out
that's
there.
right. Yeah.
And it's probably not been a healthy part. Whereas I look at your character and it's so inspiring because you've spent a life on your own, not being on your own.
Yes.
You've consciously created community spaces and social spaces. And
I'm trying to do it with the kids as well. I mean, before all this happened, all this rigmarole happened here, I used to ask either primary, the Fergus Primary School and the Ardler Primary School, which are either side of the complex, and I live about 200 yards away, or metres in these areas.
And Ardler's a tough community for those who...
Well, it used to be very tough before it was rebuilt. I mean, there were gangs and everything on every corner, and you didn't say boo to a goose, and if you knew... And when I first came up here, came to Ardler, oh, you're English, oh dear me, well, go back home. Well, hang on, I've been here 10 years already. And, of course, when they started to rebuild, all the gangs hadn't got anywhere to go, so they've disappeared. And all these people you see are now are nice, and they come and say, how's your garden going? Oh, they're growing yet? Or not quite? Oh, we'll look again next week. Is it going to rain? Are you starting yet? Brilliant. Everybody seems to want to know.
Brilliant.
And as I was saying, that we're introducing the primary school kids to do something as well. We started doing seed giveaways. We run out because we give them all away because they keep buying them. And the kids used to come along, and we had these little jiffy pots, the tiny little things, about the size of a fist sort of thing, and we put half of compost in there, and then we got the kids to drill in the middle with a pencil or something, and put one sunflower seed in, and then cover it all up, and go to bed, and then take it home and water it, and if it starts to grow about 2.5-3 centimetres, put it straight in the garden. Don't take it out of the pot. And some of them got home. You'll see some of them spilled away. And then other people will say, "Oh, it's bigger than me now." Oh, right, okay.
But I genuinely think these are such vital parts of who we are, because we've lost our relationship to land, and we've lost our relationship to
and to each other at the same time,
and to each other, because we're in a very sort of surreal pattern. I mean, we in Blend, we talk about slow coffee. Like, coffee doesn't have to be this fast thing and a takeaway cup rushing as you go to the work. Whereas it's there to also it's a timeout space. It's a little place of rest. It's a place of recapturing a different rhythm. It's a time to like sit down and take some time.
A slow down.
A slow down. And the slow coffee idea is something we're really just keen to educate people about, and like, because I mean, it's not for everywhere, but it is. It's for this day and age, I think, and things are just about the rush and the rush and the rush.
That's it. And you got the computers.
Where's the breathing space?
You can look something up, and there it is straight away.
In
my day,
there's a conversation and an argument before we get to the truth.
My day, you had to get an encyclopedia, and I spelt it wrong. Oh yes, there it is. You had to look it all up.
And the curiosity of finding that information rather than it coming to us.
Being the curiosity as well with the kids. We're not only doing the planting of the seeds, which you have to wait to come up. We get them round about a dozen at a time with the teacher. Both schools have got sort of environment gardening type teachers, and so they bring them round. And we plant pansies or something of that nature, so they can actually plant a green thing, and they put those in bigger pots. And when they start to grow, they then replant them into the big square tubs like we've got down in Union Street. And we got 4 of those in the middle of the square at Ardler. and the kids plant them in. And sometimes you stand by the tubs when the kids are coming out. Oh, look, Mum, I planted that one and that one. Oh, that one's growing.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
What I liked about some of the lockdown stuff, even in Perth, is they planted thyme and they planted lavender and they planted the herbs, other herbs and stuff in these planters.
Yes.
And I was thinking, actually, because I've been actually using them, because we had them around our
That's
Perth
right.
cafe, and I'm like, actually, you can take... And it's interesting if we to even inspire people who are listening to say, like, think of it that way as well, that you can plant these herbs. I mean, I was in Spain, in Genoa, years ago, and they had these sort of... it wasn't even a community garden, it was just these little herb tubs outside people's houses.
Yes.
And people just took a sprig
That's right.
as part of their cooking, you know?
Which you saying that has got me to another one. At the back of the Overgate here, the Overgate's a big place.
Yeah.
There's about 100 metre, getting up to date, with small gardens on the side, and the Bonnie Dundee took it over, and the first one you come to when you come out the back doors, the wall is about 6 foot, 2 metres plus high, but then it meets the path coming up, and in the end it's below knee height, or below my knee height, or 6 foot something, and all along that edge is all herbs, and by each herb is how you can use them, and what they're coming from, where they come from, and what time of year they are going to bloom and everything. Okay. And people go and snip them. Parsley, chives, rosemary, thyme, sage. They're all around there.
That's
we have to keep transplanting some of it. All right, okay, it's got.
Yeah. I think those are the sort of conscious ways in which we can be part of something bigger, than just ourselves or the taking space,
or even just part of something. I planted that. Oh, it's grown.
Yeah,
I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah.
No, amazing good stuff.
How can people connect with you, Graham? If you even want them to, but how can they, if they wanted to get to know you or speak to you, or what you're involved in the gardening, or is there a website?
I could give you, if it's allowed, I can give you my mobile number.
Okay. Well, probably not safe in this day and age, but maybe a website or
yes,
Instagram.
I've got an email which people can drop into. It's run it through.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put the email on the show notes, so it'll appear so people can see where they can connect.
Okay, yes,
and
that's
maybe
fine.
if you can email any other sort of details of that.
That's right. That's what I do. There's a Dundee Voluntary Association, and I've got both my groups on there, and they still come through to me because I was chair of both. So I haven't used that sort of thing.
Yeah, so give us one of the emails.
I can give you my email, and that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Scott Free and Wild. That's SCOT, free, FREE, as in no price at all. N for nowhere, and then Wild. Scott Free and Wild at iCloud.com.
Gosh.
You email me there, and I've put you in touch with the city people or the Ardler people, or over the years people have done both. Brilliant. You don't have to come every week, you don't have to come for 4 or 5 hours, as some people down here, they come for an hour. Okay, I can come back Thursday. All right, I might make Thursday. Okay, well, we'll do that.
I think just even for people listening, people struggling with mental health, or these are such powerful spaces.
Yes, we have that sort of, I say sort of people. It's not a sort of people. That's the wrong sort of phrase. We've had people down at the city one that have come to get themselves right, and the Ardler one, I've got people who've got what do they call it? I've forgotten what they call it now. Begins with A, but it's in one sort of thing. And when he first came, 9-10 years ago, he wouldn't say boo to a goose, and we got him talking. He was talking about a certain football club in Dundee, which you only had to mention it, and he named the team and the whole thing. Oh, right, okay. Autism. Autism, that's right. But now he's joined other groups down here with autism in it, and he's now doing public speaking.
Brilliant.
After 9 years. Brilliant. And he goes on and on. And anybody mentions the football team, off he goes.
And I think,
what else can I do? Where can I plant this?
That's
can I
proof
do
of
this?
change, and I think that should challenge some of us. If we're
Yes.
struggling in some of these spaces to go, just do it. Just go find, do it in your own window if that's what you're going to do.
Right,
Plant
yes.
a tub, and let it watch it grow. If it's not, turn up somewhere and just
That's
there's no
right, yeah.
expectation.
Can I plant it in my
Can you
what can I
work
do?
out which is brown and green and turn
That's
it
right, yeah.
turn it the right way around, please?
Green side up. Green side up.
So definitely encourage it. Now, Graham, I honestly, I could probably talk to you for a much longer time, and I see you've got notes. We've probably not covered.
I think
we've
you've
not
covered most
a
of
lot.
those. I think you've covered most of
those. And so I'll have to wrap this up. But you did say you had a joke that you could share with us. So let's do that.
Well,
and then
yes.
we can wrap up.
Somebody told me a couple of weeks ago, and it was a sort of a Scottish accent. So I can't do a Scottish accent, but there you go. Where we are. 2 cows in a field. Which one is going on holidays? So, nobody knows. The one with the wee calf. Yes, okay. Right. I apologise to all my Dundonian friends for that.
Brilliant.
It's not a week off, it's a week off. No, never mind. When you have to explain it.
When you have to explain it, that we'll get it. No, great. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Been a pleasure
it's great to know you, get to know you. I'd love to come back here and get to know you further, and so look out for Santa coming up this year. But and also maybe get this team to get you convinced to sing in one of our open nights,
yes.
or play an instrument.
Don't leave it 33 years this time. It's 33 years I've been on.
But this city is just. I agree with you. I mean, I came here 30 years ago, studied in the university, and it still holds a special place for me. There's something about the city that is quite unique in Scotland.
Yes. I've seen 3 city centres change, and it's better every time. Then the V&A.
Yeah,
I was at
something happens here.
Opening at the V&A.
I think it's part of it is the low expectation of it.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Is what gives you its delight. And
both the gardens when they first started. They won't. They'll get wrecked to pieces.
Yeah.
There we are. 2005, 2006
exactly.
later.
Wonderful.
No,
it's been brilliant. Thank you, Graham, and hopefully speak to you again, and look out for his details in the show notes. I'm sure he'd love to speak further with you guys if you get a chance.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
And bye.
Cheerio.